Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm going to discuss the next in our series of Philip K. Dick readings. This being holiday month, Emily is pretty busy. Otherwise, she would normally join me for Philip K. Dick videos, but she wanted this month off of having to try and read it. And especially since this Philip K. Dick story is a little longer than any of the others we've read, she just wouldn't have had the time to get it done in time for what I wanted to do is get this video up on our channel premiering on Philip K. Dick's birthday, which is December 16th. He was born on December 16th, 1928. The story this time is number 27 in my list of Philip K. Dick's works, which I believe to be complete, or at least very, very nearly so. And this was his 27th published work. It was published in a minor magazine called Space Science Fiction in the September 1953 issue. You may notice that we are still stuck in September of 1953. He wrote 4 or 5 stories that month. He wrote 4 stories in the month of, he published 4 stories in the month of September. I have no clue exactly when these were written. And this will be the last of the stories for September of 1953. We'll start moving on again. Anyway, this story is The Variable Man, and it's the longest work by Philip K. Dick to date, being classified as a novella-length story. The story is a little bit complicated. First of all, you have Earth in kind of a standoff with an empire of stars that is based on Proxima Centauri. The people from, the beings that live on Proxima Centauri have created an empire among the stars, and they've kind of got Earth circled in, and they want to conquer Earth. Earth has them in a standoff. Now, the reason why they're not just going at each other blazing guns is that both sides use computers to calculate their chances of winning if they should start an all-out battle. And both sides are computing that their chances are not real good, and so they stay back and continue to develop new weapons, hoping that they'll stumble upon the weapon that's going to tip the chances in their favor as far as the computers are calculating, and then they'll go in and fight the battle. Well, part of Earth's strategy, once they've almost completed this one bomb. It was meant to be a faster than light drive, but it didn't work, so it blew up. And so they think, hey, we've got a bomb. And they just need to finish building the control mechanisms that will allow them to send it to Proxima Centauri and blow up the sun at Proxima Centauri and wipe out the seed of this empire. Okay, so the computers are telling them your chances are now really good. Earth has a great chance in its favor of winning the war now that it has this weapon. So part of their strategy requires them to use a technology that allows a certain research group to be able to send time bubbles into the past. While their time bubble is in the past, they're told, immediately bring it back. So they do so, but in doing so, they accidentally grab a chunk of the past and bring it back with the time bubble. Now, this chunk of the past happens to contain a guy and his horse-drawn cart from 1914. He's a Mr. Fix-It. Some kind of savant with being able to fix machinery. he's brought back. And instantly the computers, this wasn't calculated for. So all the calculations the computers just shut down. They can't even calculate the odds. And that's where the title The Variable Man comes in. He's a variable that's been introduced that is potentially going to cause Earth to fail in the war. So they want to kill him and get rid of him. You've got one group led by this man who's in charge of the war effort, and he wants to just kill the variable man and eliminate him from all the equations so they don't have to worry about it. But then there's the scientist who's in charge of this bomb that is actually a failed faster than light drive development. He and his people are not capable of figuring out the final wiring to hook up a controller that will allow them to send and detonate the bomb when they want it to detonate. But he finds out that this guy from 1914 is this savant with any kind of machinery, with fixing anything. So he captures this guy away from the other people and brings him in to work on this faster than light bomb. And the guy from 1914, his name happens to be Thomas Cole, which is interesting. It's the name of a great landscape painter from the 1800s. One of my favorite artists. Anyway, Thomas Cole is brought in. He works on the bomb. He finishes it. But this guy has a tendency to be able to see where people are going wrong, and the mistakes that the original inventor was making that turned this faster than light drive into a bomb, he fixes it. So unbeknownst to everybody, he actually created a working faster than light drive. So when they use this thing to try and destroy Proxima Centauri, it fails to detonate. And Proxima Centauri is still there. And the Earth fleet that was sent to engage as soon as the bomb would go off arrives there. No bomb went off, and they get their butts kicked. When you look at this story in the context of some of the other stories that Dick was already writing at this time, like The Trouble with Bubbles, or even some of his stories with robots and that dealt with questions of identity and questions of reality, this story comes across as more of a traditional science fiction space opera kind of thing that you would have read during the 1940s in Astounding. Kind of like Van Vogt with the time travel type stuff, and kind of like Asimov with the idea of mathematical computations of what's going to happen, and then the mule being thrown into the mixture, which the computations really can't account for, and throwing everything off. That leads us to read a lot more traditional science fiction than what I'm used to from Philip K. Dick, even at this time, early in his career. We're still only about a year into his career. And yet we've already come across some stories that have some really incredible thoughts and ideas about reality and computers and identity and stuff like that. There's none of that here. There's time travel, which he did play with in other stories to great effect. But the time travel here is kind of conventional compared to other Philip K. Dick works. But it doesn't hurt this story. It is a very well crafted story. Very excellent ideas. The characterization doesn't go too far, but the world building is pretty good, and the characters, again, the idea is king here. You do get a sense of the characters, just not really deep characters. So I would call the characterization good, not great, but the story overall makes sense, has some really cool ideas, has a really cool ending, and is very enjoyable to read. Even though I don't feel that this is on par with Philip K. Dick's best stories so far, I still do feel that it's as good as the best by any other science fiction author at this time. And so I feel this does deserve a top tail designation from Telltale Books. This is one of the best science fiction stories of the 1950s. And the story has been anthologized a lot. I myself only have it in one source, and that is my Paycheck, which I've been using a lot. I've been reading a lot of stuff from this volume. This is most of his early work in Paycheck, and we've gone through most of Paycheck at this time. There's still a handful of stories in this book that I've yet to cover, but we have gone through a lot of this book already. And of course, The Variable Man is also available if you can find the PDF of space science fiction out online. It is available there. And I also checked, The Variable Man is available from Project Gutenberg. It is one of Philip Dick's stories that, due to lack of copyright renewal, has fallen into the public domain, even though it's from 1953 and rather than 1926. The way copyright law goes, the copyright was not renewed when it came up for renewal at a certain time in the past, and so it became public domain. This story is public domain, so you can get a copy off Project Gutenberg. And I imagine there's any number of free or 99-cent ebooks out there. So it's easily available for you to find it and read it and enjoy it today. Or go to a used source and find a copy of Paycheck. It's a very good book. Now I'm liking it, and it's a trade paperback, but it's holding up very well through all that I've been reading it over the past year and a half. So check out The Variable Man, and leave comments if you've read it, or if you go and read it, come back and leave comments. Tell us what you think of The Variable Man, especially how well it fits into the rest of Philip K. Dick's work. And come on back as we move now to October 1953. The next story will be Planet for Transients. Till then, like this video, subscribe to our channel, come back for all the other videos that I'm doing about all the other authors that I'm doing these deep dives into. And something else you can look for soon, I'm working on completing the 3 current issues of the major science fiction magazines, Asimov's Analog and Fantasy and Science Fiction. And I intend to do a video for each magazine. I'm almost ready to do Asimov's for November, December of 2023. And it's something I hope to be able to make time to do this every month, to go through the magazines and talk about the current issues of the magazines, because the magazines, I feel, are important. They're a great resource. Outside the science fiction fantasy genre, the literary magazines are slowly disappearing. I forget the name of it, but there is one of the major literary magazines that did cease publication in the last month. Science fiction is still a stronghold where the magazines are still going, and there are a number of them. Now, aside from those 3, there's also Lightspeed and Uncanny and a few others that are out there. And I feel we need to support them, because this is where most science fiction authors got their start by publishing these magazines. People were able to try them out without the investment of $30 in a brand new book. You can try the authors out, and there's other authors you can try out as well. If you don't like one author, there's a bunch of others you can read and give them a try, and you may find some favorites. I've already found a couple of new favorites from the current issue of Asimov's. I'm going to be looking for these authors' work, buying their books when they publish full novels or collections, and watching for them in future issues of the magazines, because I was blown away by their stories. So that's something new I want to do, is talk about the current issues of these magazines and do what I can to support the continuation of these great science fiction magazines. Analog dates all the way back. It used to be Astounding Science Fiction. It was John W. Campbell's magazine, but it goes back before Campbell, all the way back to January of 1930. So we're coming up on the 94th year of publication for Analog. It's a science fiction institution. We need to keep these things going. Anyway, come on back for the next video. I'll be here too.